All righty, we are live. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Is everybody doing good? So
Doing
happy.
good.
So
Now.
happy. Right? Well, welcome to SheNanigans. This is where we talk shenanigans. And so we've got full house on the camera tonight. We've got a bunch of people in chat. You guys see that we have Katie and Bronwyn and Amber and Kathy and me. I'm Tara. We're missing Carrie. She's not feeling too hot tonight. She and a doctor had a disagreement about how she was feeling. Turns out she feels like crap. So she's in the background. So she's in the chat and she'll be playing with some of the highlighting some comments for us. But there's all kinds of folks in the chat. Robin's in the chat. Our mods in the chat. Run for Justice and oh my gosh, Bianca and I saw my other one in the where's the other one? Run for Justice, Bianca. I know Mama Cat's in the chat. I saw Texas Blue Bonnets. So we have all kinds. Narcissist Hunter. So thank you. These are our frequent flyers, our repeat offenders. They join us all the time. And then for those of you that are not familiar with shenanigans, if this is your first time, what we do here is we just talk. We talk about all kinds of things. Some of the subjects are a little more difficult than others. Some can be really trying. Some are really upsetting. If the chatter doesn't feel like something you want to stick with, don't worry. You can step out anytime, come back later. This has happened a few times before. I've gotten some feedback from a couple of folks who said that just wasn't for me, but I'll be back for the next one. And that's okay. So these conversations aren't necessarily for everybody because this is not a safe space. It's just a space where we can be uncomfortable, where we can push each other a little bit, open up and talk about our experiences, because not all of our experiences may be for us. Sometimes they're for others. So feel free to be a part of the conversation in the chat. You can always join the Shenanigans crew. You don't have to turn your camera on. That's totally up to you. But just know if you are one of those people that's kind of jerky and is taken wrong all the time, lead with that before you start contributing to the conversation. So with that, welcome to the conversation. Tonight we have special guest Terri with us. That's the gal in the corner there that you've never seen before. So we're with this kind of being part 2 of a Halloween special. And it's practically Halloween because it's pretty much election night. It's the same damn thing, right? We just don't know what we're going to get once we kind of wake up tomorrow morning. So, but what I wanted to do is to kind of build off of last week's conversation where we talked about different macabre things and cemeteries. And we talked the morgue because Bronwyn has a background as a funeral. Is it funeral director, Bronwyn?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
That was the actual, I don't think we ever actually asked you for the actual title. So we're just going to take the conversation to kind of like that next level. And I wanted Terri to come on here because I actually write as a freelance writer for the local newspaper. And I got to interview Terri for a special article about paranormal investigations. There's the Derby Historical Society wanted to do this paranormal investigation. They worked with Terri on that. So her team went in there and they investigated this old building. It's over 100 years old. And so they went, it's actually, I think it's 100. So they went in there and got to do their thing. So in getting to know Terri, I learned that she's also a medium. So yes. rules of engagement tonight will be that questions are welcome, but we're not doing readings. You don't get to ask her to look into the future or what you're thinking and any kind of, if you ask her any of those questions, I'm going to answer them. So good luck to you. But what the whole point of having Terri up here was to just explore what is a medium? How is it different from a psychic? What are all those different powers? And I think a lot of us, I know myself, maybe just me, I thought they were all the same thing. They all just kind of do the fortune telling, the future telling, the talk to the dead telling type of stuff. And so when I got to talking with Terri and some of my previous research, I learned that is not the case. So welcome, Terri. Thank you for joining us tonight. I have had her on her nerves edge for the last 20 minutes trying to get her on here.
Well, person error. I have no idea what I'm doing. So
that's okay.
I can do ghosts. I can't do computers.
I can do ghosts, but I can't do computers. That is. So what is that? So tell us about, I guess, I don't even know where to start. Do we start with the paranormal? Do we start with the medium stuff? Where do we go?
Well, it's all kind of combined. Being a medium, You're born with it. It's not like it's given to you. And actually, everybody is born with some realm of it. It's just, unfortunately, when the children get older, and people tell them there's no such thing as an imaginary friend, there's no such thing as ghosts. You're crazy, be quiet, you're being silly. Children will learn to shut it down, um, and just block it off. Then there's those like myself that it's a lot stronger and not able to shut it completely down. It is hereditary. So my daughter has it, my granddaughter has it, my mother had it, my grandmother had it. Um, and I find in my research that is common. Um, but that being said, the more my team hangs with me, the more open they are becoming and the more sensitive they become, which is good because that only helps me. I mean, I'm nothing without my team. I tell them that all the time. I couldn't do it without my team. They keep me grounded, they keep me centered, and they keep me safe, honestly.
So you're so go. Okay, I don't even know how to get into all that. When did you? I guess when did you first know that
Um, I was
you were medium?
I was about 3 years old the first time I ever can remember seeing a spirit. We were living next door to another family that had a little girl my age, and I would always go over and play with her at her house. And her dad died. We'll just leave it at that. And we went over to their house, um, to do our respects. And everybody was crying, and I didn't understand why everybody was crying. And keep in mind, I was about 3, and my friend kept saying, "My daddy's dead, and my daddy's dead. He's gone." And I'm like, "No, he's right there," because I could see him in his chair. And unfortunately, I vocalized that, and my parents heard it, and it became quite a ordeal. And of course, they got me out of the house um, very quickly because no one wanted to hear that he was there when no one else could see him. And I was very confused. Um, and then it just kind of centered on when my relatives would pass, they would come see me immediately. So I kind of knew they were gone before anybody else did. And I just became more and more open the older I got, because I didn't think it was a bad thing. It didn't scare me. These people didn't scare me. But the more open you get, the more you let in, and the better you can see them, hear them, feel them, which isn't necessarily so much fun sometimes. Um, no one wants to see someone in their death state. It's not pretty. Um, so that being said, there's a lot of times I go in and I have to let the spirits know my boundaries. Um, because if not, they'll make me sick, or I will feel the way they did as they were dying. Um, they have stomach cancer, and my stomach will just start horrifically hurting. Or Lord have mercy, if it's a hanging or something like that, I will literally feel choked,
Okay.
um, to the point that my team has to get me out or I'll pass out. It's
Oh,
not, that's why I tell everybody it's a gift, but it's also a curse because you have to constantly be um, on guard, I guess, because spirits are everywhere.
so and just to be clear, you're used to a lot of people being skeptical and raised eyebrow and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
right, whatever. So, as far as the panel's concerned, all feedback, all questions, it's an open conversation because it's literally one of those things where It's not the safe space. It's just asking questions and exploring, which I find to be strange because I had asked Bronwyn last week when she was doing the funeral home work, the funeral director work, if she would ever get any feeling that there was, something in the room with her, if there's any of that kind of thing. And there really wasn't, there was, what did you say? There was a couple times where it's just like somebody, you didn't know there's a back door or
Yeah,
something.
nothing supernatural feeling, just normal people, like just normal people. But I never felt, I mean, I know some people would be creeped out. Like we had an employee who she just didn't like being there by herself. She was a secretary or like an
Yeah.
admin, but I never felt like that.
So with oh, how did you take, it's just like being an empath, it's a blessing and a curse. That's probably a true statement. So do you, and you say it's generational, so and I've interviewed your daughter for a different story, completely unrelated to all of this. And then the granddaughter is not her daughter, it's your other child's
Yes.
daughter. So it's not like it went from mom to daughter to granddaughter. It skipped over to the next kid's kid,
Well,
right?
the it's my granddaughter, so it's my son's daughter.
Okay.
Which normally we find that it's females more than males. I honestly think that's just because women are just a little bit more sensitive than men. They're more open to it. The masculinity of it all. There's a lot of people that never experience it, and then there's others that they'll look back and say, I just kind of thought it was the wind. And if they think about it, there really wasn't any wind. It was a noise and they were trying to get their attention. Most spirits are not, they're not, they've just gotten a really bad rap with all the wonderful TV shows. Spirits, they don't go out to hurt you. They normally want to actually just let you know that they're there or to comfort you.
So, and you're able to utilize your gift when you do paranormal investigations, correct?
Yes, we go in, if it's just my team going in, I will open up to a certain extent, for my safety. My team knows pretty much when we go in some of the situations we could get into. Um, that's not when I take the public. I mean, there have been some times that it's gotten a little scary. Some of our team has gotten scratched, some of them have gotten pushed. I even got shoved down the staircase at one time.
Oh,
But
wow.
when we do fundraisers, we go in prior to make sure that there's nothing that could possibly reach out. Let's just say reach out
Reach
to the public.
reach out and
Um,
touch you.
because I want the public to be safe.
For
That's
sure.
always my intent. But I do open up so that spirits know that we can hear them. I can see them because we want the people to get a full experience. So normally our K2s go off. They'll come on our equipment uh, quite a bit more because they know my dogs are in a fight under my feet.
They must be great feet.
Of course they are. Yeah, never fails. I'm gonna have to move a dog. There we go. Uh, but in a nutshell, I mean, we go. I kind of center in. I kind of open up more, and then the spirits are like, "Oh, okay, she'll let us talk to her."
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, when we do a fundraiser, I have to keep my vision on where the spirits that we are investigating, not the spirits coming in with the people. Because a lot of times the spirits come in with the people and they're like, hey, tell Johnny, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 not here to tell Johnny anything, here to talk to the spirits in the building. Um, so that gets a little complicated sometimes. Most of the time I can do it, but every now and then I have to pull somebody off to the side and say, hey, just so you know, but I don't really like doing that. Um, That's why I won't do a private reading, mainly because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't want to say something that could ever be the last thing they think of their family.
It's interesting you just say that because Carrie just highlighted a comment from Irish that said it must be hard to know what to reveal and what not to reveal.
It is. It is. I tell people that I truly do not believe that we have the ability to tell anyone when they're going to die. I believe in the white light of the Lord, so I think God is the only one that knows when that time's a coming, and we shouldn't have a timeline on that. So I tell people, if you go to a psychic and they tell you that you've got 3 weeks to live, pay them their $25, tell them thank you and walk out and just let it go, because no one knows that. They just don't. So I'm very careful, but there's times that, I mean, they just want to check in and say, "Hey, I'm okay." Uh, there's been a time that a lady said, "Hey, tell my grandson to look under such and such and such and such. They missed an insurance policy." And I'll tell them that. I'll help them out.
Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah, but in that case, but not to say that we can't tell if someone's sick. There is times that I'll open up and I can tell that they're not quite well. And depending on how extreme I really feel it is, I will tell the person, "Hey," I'll try to give a roundabout, "Hey, have you been to the doctor lately? You been feeling okay?" Getting that checked out's kind of important. Might want to do that. Um, but I'm not going to say, "Hey, you got a big problem and you got to get there." I'm not going to do that.
So there's you can sense certain things about people who are still here, and you can essentially communicate with those that are no longer here.
Yes.
Does that kind of put you in the realm of psychic, or no? What is the difference between the medium and the psychic?
We have a lot of different names. Some people say we're mediums, some people say we're psychics, some people say we're clairvoyants. It is actually all the same. It just depends on how open you are, how open you're willing to be. Um, per se, like my daughter, she does not want to, she doesn't have a problem hearing them. She doesn't have a problem seeing them, but she will not allow them to see her to see them in their death state or to feel the feelings that they're going through. She's got that wall up. It's just like people are like, "Well, why don't you do this scribbling or whatever?" We all have our different quirks. I rub my hands together, which is kind of funny because I'll be in the grocery store and all of a sudden I'll want to rub my hands together and I'll have to shake them and say, "No, no, 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 no," because that's normally a spirit wanting to communicate with me. And I'm not going to do what some do and go up and talk to them in the middle of a grocery store. I just,
So that scribbling thing that she's talking about, and I don't know on the panel how many of you are familiar with the psychics, the mediums that are out there on TV doing shows and things of that nature.
yeah,
One particular one, and I cannot remember his name. He's fairly young. He's like in early to mid 20s, and he's like the psychic for Hollywood. He's got
yeah,
that.
he's Tyler.
Tyler.
He's
Yeah.
good.
Tyler.
And so when he gets started and he lets in, and I'm sure, similar to what Terry is doing now, he lets everybody know what what's going to happen, what the boundaries are. And one of the things he does, he just scribbles back and forth and up and around and down, just continually scribbling, scribbling, scribbling. And as you watch the show continue, you can see his paper gets filled up with these back and forth marks. That's all they are. That's just his way of, it's like a trigger for his brain
Yeah.
to do the connecting that, if there's a connection to be made. Whereas I'm a big fan of Matt Frazier. He's very eclectic. You'd swear he was not a straight man because he's got the the sequin jacket that's real super shiny. He's very Hollywoody, just super eclectic, very cool, very, very funny, very assertive, I would put it. Robin, you can give me a different word, because Robin and I have been in on we've been on a couple of his shows, and I've actually talked with him direct. I've been called up by him for somebody else. And he's very much like, I'm gonna tell you what I gotta tell you this. I'm just gonna tell you. If you can't handle it, you're just gonna have to learn to handle it. Like, and he just talks really, really fast. He is just like on fast forward motion all the time. But the other one that's really well known is Teresa Caputo. She asks, "Do you want to know? Can I tell you?" She's very much boundary oriented. So there's a lot of different, yeah, energetic is one of the ways I would describe Matt Frazier for sure. So there's a lot of different, to Terry's point, everybody's got different boundaries based on where you personally sit at. It sounds like what you will and won't do, and there's some respect for other people's boundaries, it sounds like.
Yes.
Did you used to do readings? And again, nobody's going to ask you to do a reading here, but did you used to do them at one point?
Well, I get caught off guard every now and then by my friends and things like that, and it'll just spurt out. Something will just fly out of my mouth, and then I'm like, "Oh, why did you ask me that? I don't want to tell you anything." You know what I mean? And a lot of that has to do with I don't want to be wrong. Being a psychic, people they agree with it, they believe it, but then there's an awful lot that do not believe it.
Mhm.
So it's like when you go to a reading and you're getting a reading, I tell people to please tape record it, and then go back later and listen to it, because in the heat of the moment, you might think that it's not a real thing, that it's not something that's actually happening. And if you go back, you might understand it better. It's just like a tarot card. People see a death tarot card and they panic because they think they're going to die. That has nothing to do with the tarot card of death. That is a stopping of something and a beginning of new. And that could be a relationship, that could be a job, that could be a house, it could be anything. It doesn't mean death as people are so afraid of. So that being said, I don't want to say something and they say, "Oh, you're just full of it," because I doubt myself all the time. My team is constantly, I'm like, how silly was I at that? Because when I leave a building, I will forget 95% of what I've done and what I've said and what has occurred. So it's very important for my team to take notes. So then we can go back and I can relive it, per se. Because if I hold it all in, I would go crazy. I mean, my brain's not big as it is, let alone to have all of it every day. Which is why back in the day, so many people were in psychiatric wards, because they didn't understand. People heard voices, they saw things, they felt things, and they put them in psych wards.
Oh, wow. There's a question up on the screen, Terry, for you. What percentage of tarot readers on YouTube are legit, in your opinion? Are you aware of how many tarot readers there are on? Oh my. So
Oh,
there
boy.
are several people out there that have created channels, and some are fairly popular. Specifically, there was one that was there's several people that lean into these folks, especially with cases that are close to home or well known. And so they pull out the tarot cards, and some are more confident than others, and some are like, don't take my word for it because I'm doing this virtually. So what is your opinion on doing that kind of thing?
I'm going to stick my neck out. Let's just say the mediums that I know, that I trust, have personally told me that they don't need tarot cards, because it's just more for a show. for the people to see, to try to interact with them. Just kind of a visual tool. They don't need the tarot cards. They can go ahead and read you without them.
Mhm.
That being said, a medium kind of knows a medium. If one's in a room, we normally know if the other one's a real deal. But who am I to say that somebody's not open and can do it? I mean, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money doing tarot readings.
Mhm.
And I just hope that they do it not for the money, but for the reason to help others connect with their loved ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does for me.
Um,
Panel, I'll keep asking questions unless you guys jump in and stop me. I'm just keeping the conversation going.
they're like, nope, not going to talk to her.
And they're like, "No, we're happy. Keep talking."
I don't really have any questions. I mean, it's fascinating to me, right? Like I love it. I know like there was a time when I was a kid that I was open because I would see things too. And then of course,
You
just like you
did?
said, you get
What did you see?
Um, the stuff I saw was kind of scary. I saw a lot of shadow people and that sort of thing whenever I was younger. Um,
Oh.
and then I did see like I guess a ghost, I guess. I mean, whenever I remember I was probably around 8 or 9 years old, um, but the whole thought of at the time it scared me. And so I think I really just kind of closed that off. And I've only recently become very open to like, wanting to experience it and be open to it again. But trying to figure out how to do that without maybe getting into something that I don't need to be getting into. Um, that part's difficult. And so I love hearing about it. And yeah, it's fascinating, just fascinating to me. I wish I had some of those abilities back, definitely.
The thing about shadow people, especially if you're young, a lot of times they're not the doom and gloom that people think they are. They're actually your loved ones coming, checking in, and they don't want to scare you. And a lot of times, if
Worked
you
in
would
reverse.
Maybe
see,
they shouldn't look so scary then, right?
well, I don't know. I mean, if you see grandpa that you know is gone and he just all of a sudden shows up in your bedroom on, by the wall, might scare you a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
They're kind of peeking in and hoping that you don't necessarily see them. Hoping that you'll just kind of think that that was just kind of a shadow of a tree or something in your window. I mean, kids are supposed to like their shadows, Peter Pan and everything. So,
That damn thing was annoying.
I mean, shadow people a lot of times aren't, like I said, a lot of that has a bad rap. I mean, I tell people all the time, I try to educate them on spirits because we get called in and if someone says, my lights are going on and off and my water just turns on and off. And I always ask them, think back to what you were doing when that water turned on and off or the lights turned on and off. And 9 out of 10 times, they're going to say, well, I was doing bills, or we were in an argument, or I was all stressed out, or I was sad, or I was crying. And what that normally entails is the spirits don't want you upset. They don't want you to cry. So what they do is they turn the water on and off, and well, you quit thinking about what you're sad about or, what you're mad about, and you think about the lights flashing on and off or the water. So they just kind of redirect you into a different mindset.
Yeah.
It's not to scare you. I mean, not to be said that there's times that we go in and a lady that's lived there for 60 years loved her wallpaper and you go ripping it off and she's a little irritated. Oh, okay. You just got to find a way to, he's probably not going anywhere. So you just kind of have to find a way to cohabitate and get along. And we tell them to know, tell them that we respect their house. We love their house. That's why we wanted to buy the house. But we want to kind of make it to where we like it, not that the way she had it was bad. And normally things calm down.
You're
Normally.
making Beetlejuice sound like a documentary, Terry, at this rate.
Well, I like the show Beetlejuice. I really did. Really did. There's a lot to that kind of, not that Beetlejuice is going to be in some kind of a mobile and come out of, no, not quite the way that goes, but
He's not the guy I want to hang out with if we're going to talk about hanging out with deceased, but I'm just saying, as far as the redecorating the house and people not getting along over it, that sounds like a documentary movie versus a comedy.
well, like I said, there's most of the time, I would say I watch some of those shows and I'm amazed that they can find all this demonic, because I just don't believe that there's that much of it. There's a lot of negative. If you're a mean SOB in life, when you die, you're probably not going to be much different.
Mean SOB on the other side.
Awesome. I have more to look forward to in this world and the next. Awesome.
I have a question. What is the reason that these spirits want to stay around?
Well, that's the thing. Are they staying
Good
around?
question.
That was you just hopped off on you're playing into my thought too. Are they
Yeah.
around, or
Yeah.
because there's that religious angle, right? Once they pass to heaven, they're in heaven, which almost makes heaven sounds like a happy penitentiary if you can't get out to go say hi to somebody.
I don't believe that. I was raised, and the older I get, the more I believe this, that once you pass, you have to, I was raised that you had chains, whether they were good or bad. And when you died, you had to go to the Lord and you had to go through your chains, good or bad, of your life. And then after that, depending on where your chains are, I guess, then you're sentenced, I don't know, told where to go. But then you are welcome to come in and out of the realm. A lot of times spirits don't pass until after their funerals, mainly because they kind of want to be there to comfort their loved ones. And then there's some that just want to see what kind of a party they were thrown. I'm not gonna lie. There's a few of those out there. They want to see just how many showed up at their funeral. But like at the museums and their homes, they come because that was their happy place. There's people that come to the theater because that's where they were happy. So they come to enjoy where they were happy. Children, unfortunately, there are children that are not told about the Lord, or they're too young when they pass, and they don't quite know to go to the white light. So we kind of have to help them. A lot of times, if they're babies, spirits from the other side will come and they will help them through the light. Suicides are terrified to go to the light because they've been taught they're not going to get to see Lord. And I don't believe that. No one is stuck, other than that they just refuse to go to the light. If they don't want to go to the light, you can't make them go to the light. It's not like you can, hook them to a noose and yank them out with a chain. But most of the time, people aren't stuck. Kids like to go back where their fond memories were. But that's also considered an intelligent spirit. And then there's residual, which residual is not a spirit. It's not an intelligent. Residual is let's say a lady every morning got up, went to the bathroom, went started the coffee pot, went and sat down and read her paper, and then you can pretty much track the residual energy of that. Because if it's a reoccurrence over and over and over and over again, it will become a residual energy. I mean, we're all made up of energy. So if we do the same thing over and over and over, it's a residual. So the person's really not there. It's just the energy of what they did over and over. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So
Katie,
there's two different types. I mean, and you can't talk to residual because it's not a real being.
Katie, what are you thinking? I want to know what's underneath that hat.
I'm gonna keep quiet just because, yeah, I don't know. I've had several parents that have passed away recently, and I do feel their presence, and I haven't seen anything. I hear them, and if like I've told my husband earlier, like I was looking for this like all over, and then all of a sudden I hear my dad in my mind, and I look down and I find it. Like it's that kind of thing that I've experienced.
Happens all the time.
So I guess I should have established, is there any skeptics on our panel? Are we all of some sort of belief that there's some sort of gift, power, ability that some folks have?
Yeah, I believe it. I want to have it. How do we get it if we don't have it, Terri?
I know. Same.
Hold on.
Do you offer a class?
Wait,
No.
hold on.
Free training.
I think it's funny that they actually had a class on how to become a.
Yes, there are classes. Yes.
And I'm like, oh boy, okay. I mean, like I said, anybody can be open. You just have to open your mind up, and know that possibility is out there. But I always tell people to also be very leery not to open up too much, because it can haunt you in your dreams. If you don't
say that, go.
well, if you don't know how to shut it down, I mean, once they know you can hear them, they just come out of the woodwork. They just start chirping like crazy.
Well,
Oh
it
my
depends on your
gosh.
boundaries and your Well, before I go to that, Bronwyn, are you which side of the fence are you leaning on this one? Are you just going to sit in the middle?
I believe it.
Okay.
I would never want it to be me.
So I
think it's really interesting, and I think
it is.
I believe that there are people that have those gifts and can see those things.
I will say something real quick that I didn't tell you ladies that have been out my house. And so when I bought this house, I was told that the lady, well, a couple of couples have owned this house, but previously the woman, the wife, had died and drowned in the pool.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
my real estate agent was, she is bound. She has to tell me
Yeah,
that.
she would have had to.
Yeah, and I remember her telling me, she was like, "Are your children around?" Or they like, she didn't want them to hear it, and so we talked, and I was like, "Okay, it's." But that sticks with me a little bit. I mean, like when I'm in the pool, and I have found myself after I found that out, like I'm nice. I'm a nice person. Like,
don't drown me, please.
yeah.
I don't know if I want to go.
She probably doesn't want to take you with her.
I'm a friend.
So
I wouldn't think any of the spirits would want to harm you just because they passed in the pool.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
That's just not a normal. I mean, like I said, if she wanted to get a message to someone, maybe you would see her, or feel her. But normally, I mean, unless you got a murder situation, then, well, she might come and say, hey, look, want somebody, especially if it's unsolved.
I think the situation, I think that I don't think it was any type of murder situation. I think that she had a drinking problem or something and
Oh no.
drowned, but still, when I'm in the pool, I mean, and I think we've all seen enough like scary shows,
Yep.
movies, or whatever. It's just like in my brain, like, I don't know, please don't hurt me.
Right.
Correct. So there's a couple questions in the chat that I want to bring up. Carrie's is one of them. She says, my 5-year-old granddaughter said there was a ghost in my ex's house. He had just passed in September. Do kids really sense those things more than we do? Not sure I want to go back now. And that's primarily because it's her ex, not so much the kid sees ghosts. Just to be clear, I'm pretty sure I know where that's going.
Well, the child probably did see a spirit, and it was probably of the ex, kind of lingering, maybe not ready to move on yet. Depending on, I mean, if people that die in, let's say they die in a traffic accident, a tragic, quick, they didn't know it was going to happen. They don't know what hit them. Sometimes they get a little confused and they stick around to try to figure out what's going on, what happened. But kids, yeah, kids are babies. I mean, animals, if cats especially, but dogs can too. They'll just all of a sudden look up and you can actually watch them follow the spirit back and forth.
Yes. I've seen my little dog do this, Terry. I don't know if I think I did tell you this story. My little dog, Bishop, who has a religious name, not for religious reasons. And Margaret, I'm coming back to your statement here in a second. So I'm so glad you said that you're not a troublemaker. You instigated the conversation I wanted. But I like to do findagrave.com volunteer work. So I'll get a claim and somebody will say, hey, I need a picture of this grave, this headstone. It's in this cemetery at this space. So I'll go out there. Well, I'll usually take Bishop with me on the warmer days. And the cemetery here in my town, he loves. He scampers off, he plays, he does his little thing. I'm like, where are you going? Normally he'll stay with me like a shadow, but he just carries on at this one cemetery in my town. But there's one in the next town south of me. As soon as we get there, he will not get out that car.
Yeah.
Will not do it. If I try to get him out, he stays by the car. He will not come away from it at all. In fact, he'll sit in the car. We were out there one day and I was like, I can't put you back in the car. It's hot. It is like 90 degrees. I don't know where this headstone is at. I can't put you back in there. And I've carried him with me. I forced him and he was not happy with me. But that's the only, of all the cemeteries we've been to, that's the only one he does not want to be walking around and he hates it.
It could be a number of things. There could be a spirit in there that didn't like dogs.
They made that clear to him. He's just like, nope, I don't need to be kicked.
And he's like, nope, not going.
Correct.
A lot of times you see children, you'll see children spirits in a graveyard, and that's just a fun hide and seek for them. They just come back and play hide and seek because, well, their friends are there. You know, they've got other kids there that they can play with, which is kind of ironic. I try not to investigate cemeteries, mainly because out of respect. I don't conjure. I don't use Ouija boards. So unless they want to talk to me, I'm not going to come up to somebody, and I'm just not going to go to a grave and say, "Hey, talk to me." You know. So I just, and I know a lot of people that do that, and that's cool. I'm just not one of them. I mean, I've been on a number of teams that they did Ouija boards, and they did conjure, and they did yell at the spirits and tell them to speak, and I demand you to blah blah, and to me that's disrespectful. They were human. I don't want to be talked to that way, so I don't allow myself or any of my team to do that either. And there's been a few times that we've had on a fundraiser, we've had some people that weren't so kind, and we actually had to escort one out. One time out of all the fundraisers, we had to escort somebody out. I mean, we're used to the people that don't believe. They come in with their arms crossed, and I tell them at the beginning, if you don't want anything, you don't want to hear anybody, and you go with your arms crossed, they're not going to waste their energy on you. So you're probably not going to get anything. But if they're open and they're willing to experience it, then the spirits will use their energy.
So
I
we get
also tell
wise
them
after
that
we
the more excited they are, the more energy they have, and the easier it is for the spirit to actually show itself.
So we get wiser when we're on the other side. We don't talk to those that are idiots and mean people. Good to know. We just
Why?
need to get to right.
Yeah.
Why are we
Why?
doing that on this side? Why are we wasting our time? There
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
Irish wants to know. She says, my ex is quote unquote nowhere. It's weird to me. Where did he go? Like his soul ceased to exist. He was a black soul when he was alive. Anyone? Is that going back to, I think she made a comment earlier that he was not the world's most favorable human anyway.
Like I said, most spirits come back to make people feel good, to reassure them that there's something on the other side, to help them. Like if someone's on their deathbed, you always hear them calling out to their deceased loved ones, or looking up in the corner of the room, or reaching out. Those are their loved ones coming to help them go through the light. People that are not so nice on this side, they really don't want to be nice over here. So why are they going to come back? I mean, unless they're going to cause havoc. And well, if they do, normally somebody like me comes in and says, no, this isn't going to happen. And we make them leave. By the white light of the Lord. Normally the Lord God doesn't want anybody unhappy. God doesn't want you afraid. And your loved ones want you to know that they're okay and you're okay. So that guy may, depending on how long he's been gone, he may still be going through his chains. I mean, it could take a while. I mean, there's some people that I tell people a lot of times, you may not, after a certain amount of time, you may not feel your loved one or hear your loved one for quite a bit of time. And they may only come every now and then, like when you need them the most, or anniversaries or birthdays. And that's just kind of to check in. They'll leave little mementos like flowers, or you'll see birds, just random birds that you wouldn't normally see. They'll leave coins. Coins are pretty easy for them. They'll move things like your hairbrush. That's pretty common. You get a certain place for your hairbrush and you go back, and there was one lady that her dad hated her perfume, hated it, made comments every time she wore it. And after he passed, her perfume went up missing, and she's not ever found it. And I'm like, well,
He took care of
That
that.
wasn't a
he kind
ghost
of doesn't
trash
want you to,
can.
I wouldn't go buy another one.
Probably not. Probably not.
I-
So there's a standing question, and Robin, you have to tell me if I can provide background to kind of help with this one. But have you ever talked to a spirit that had mental disabilities in life? Are they the same mental levels or mental age after passing, or can they communicate better after passing?
You know, God made the blind see and the deaf hear. I truly believe that once you pass, your pain is gone, because our human bodies are no longer there. So in spirit, you're fine. Now I have been to some psychiatric wards, and the people that were adults that had the mental of like a 6 to 8 year old. They still presented as a 6 to 8 year old. So I'm kind of on the fence on that. I don't know. I don't think that someone that is in severe pain when they pass, I truly believe they're
Right.
no longer in pain. But as far as mental issues, um, like I said, I have experienced in psychiatric wards people that had a lower age mentally, and they were still at that age. So I don't know. I don't know. I My experience, they are still the same. Um, I think sometimes if you've lost a child when they were young, and then 10 years later you see them as they would be at their age,
Mhm.
like 14 or so, I think that's the spirit showing you what you want to see. Um, because you'd be really confused if you still saw them as a baby. You know what I mean? You would
Yeah.
want to see them as that older child. So I think the spirit there again wants you to be happy, wants you to be assured. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't been there yet, so don't know.
Well, don't rush.
I'm hoping I'm going to be around a while.
That
So
would be great. So you
I've had some near, yeah, as a child. So don't know. And I do know
same.
people that if they have had a near death experience, they are more in tune to the other side because they were close to it at one point.
Interesting.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
I'll come back. I'm gonna circle back around to that one. The comment on the screen now was made, and I think it's a really great one to bring up because I have seen this addressed by another medium, one of the well-known ones. And Margaret DeYounger says, with all respect, don't believe in paranormal or mediums due to my deep Catholic faith. I do believe our loved ones are near us, close to our deaths. I'm always the troublemaker. Sorry, shenanigans. No, this is a great comment. And I'm glad that Margaret brought this up. And that might be something difficult to bring up when somebody says, no, I'm not a believer because I'm too religious. That's not what my religion says. It says psychics and mediums, clairvoyance, all of that stuff is evil. My mother raised me to believe that. I have sensed,
Same. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I since have changed my thinking on it because I've done research on it. But Tyler, and somebody put his link in the chat, and I'm glad they did. Tyler Henry is his name. He's that blonde little clairvoyant.
Yes.
He's a cute as a button, adorable. And somebody had asked him, and it was a celebrity who said, "Look, I'm not much of a believer because I'm a strong Christian." She wasn't even Catholic, but I think it was Melissa Joan Hart, but I can't recall for certain during that episode. And she said, I don't know what to believe. My faith says I can't believe in you. She's like, how do you respond to that? And his response was, look, God gives all the gifts that we need to help others in life. And this is still a gift. And he actually went in to go find scripture for the
Yes.
Bible saying this, and I can't repeat it. I don't remember it, but he actually went back and quoted the Bible. And are you aware of this, that, and the other? And she's like, okay, continue on. I'm ready to like, she was like, oh crap, no. And he's like, well, no, but have you studied the entire Bible either? And she's
Exactly.
like,
And that's what I tell people is it is in the Bible. There are prophets in the Bible. And I struggled with that myself for a long time, thinking that I was speaking evil and what I was encountering was negative. And I asked a number of different ministers, and they all told me to do the same thing, to look it up in the Bible. And I'm not that, again, that is why I will not do any doom and gloom. I don't think that that's what my gift is for. I think that it's to reassure people that there's something on the other side, that God is real, that there's nothing to be afraid of. Everybody's going to die. I mean, if you're born, you're going to die. It's just how you're ready to do it. to kind of get prepared, and to have a positive outlook about it instead of such negative and nasty. But yeah, I believe that it's, like I said, it's a gift. But it's also could be a curse because it is hard. It's hard to constantly be belittled, disrespected, laughed at, and it gets to you. And then you've got everywhere you go, you kind of have to be shut down so you can do your daily stuff. And at night, you have to shut down, or they'll just keep you up all night. Because they got a lot to say. They got a
That's
lot.
that's what I've heard the other mediums say. Um, so I mean, that's what I find interesting is I can see the religious angle to it because I was raised with that. Despite the fact I was not raised by a religious woman, it was a pick and choose to benefit her parenting. In my opinion, she'll hate me for saying that, but that's fine. Um, but it's you got to kind of wonder in some cases if it's not. I know what my gifts are that I've been my God-given gifts. I know what those are, and I've been leaning into those, and it has to do with people. In fact, one of my friends, she calls me she calls me, and this is so funny because I thought it was the weirdest thing when she said it. She called me a medium for the living. That I can do certain things with the living when they do this, that, and the other. I'm like, I know why you're doing this, that, and that. And I can get people to open up and talk and get them comfortable to talk about the things they don't normally talk about. And so it's that's not a it's and it can be a curse too because there's sometimes people become open books. I'm like, stop talking, not interested. Just go away. Like, but people are very attracted um, to that aura, that vibe, that energy, whatever it is. So it's hard not to think that it's not a gift as long as you use it for good and not out there conjuring bad spirits to take over the world. I mean, I don't want you out there bringing up Hitler and trying to recreate all kinds of historical nonsense, but I think that's the thing too. It's got to be everybody's got a gift. You just have to use it appropriately to serve other people, right? That's
Right. Right. I mean, that's how I've always looked at it is as long as I mean, people ask me, why do you not charge? I get that all the time.
yeah,
Why do I not charge? Why will I not take a donation? Um, I feel that I was given this gift and that if I take money for it, then it no longer becomes a gift. Um, Not to say that other people shouldn't, because I know a lot of people that literally pay their bills on it, and that's great. That's what they need to do. That's what they feel that they want to do, and more power to them. I just don't want to do that. Not to say that my husband didn't come home from the fair 2 years ago and say, "Hey, you're going to be in the fair next year," because there was 3 booths and they were just packed full, $60 a reading, and you're my retirement package. And I'm like, yeah, no.
you would as a medium, you think you'd see that coming. Like,
Well, he's constantly telling me he's going to put a sign in the yard. Um, and I'm like, well, I hope you're good at it. That's what I tell him. I sure hope you're good at it because it's not going to come from me. But yeah, that's our raving joke around the house is that I'm his secure retirement package. And no, not so much. We'll be eating cat food. Not going to do it. But that's my heart. That's how I feel in my heart.
yes.
Not to
So
say that it's wrong or right. It's just
right,
that's my heart.
yeah,
And we do have a ton of equipment, um, probably more than most of the teams around the area, that we have paid for out of our own pockets. And I do it because I feel it's necessary for the people to get the correct responses that they need if they're going to pay for a fundraiser, because that money goes straight to whatever the museum or wherever we're at. So I decided to start doing that in 2020 because 2020 just demolished the theaters and the museums. And I thought, this would be a good way for the museums to make money and for people to get some education on the paranormal and the afterlife. So to me, it was kind of a win-win,
There we go.
which is why we do it.
Right.
But there's times that my team really just wants to be us, and do our thing. I feel that that's necessary for us to be able to fine tune, to be able to help the community. So we're always looking for places to go and do our thing.
I'm going to invite you to my house, and I'll explain why in a few moments. But first, Margaret, who just had the comment about not believing being a devout Catholic, says, I was very close with a 95-year-old Italian lady, widowed over 40 years. Shortly before she died, she was tormented by evil black spirits attacking her, and her deceased husband appeared shouting, leave her alone. And then it says, day before she died, massive stroke, he appeared to her again, clean white shirt and pressed pants. She was buried on All Souls Day. Oh, wow. And you're not a believer?
How can she not be a believer?
How?
I mean, that's the thing. The your loved one, no one ever dies alone. They don't. You always have somebody there reaching out, trying to get you to cross peacefully. They're sent. And people are like, well, what about orphans that never knew anybody? Someone will come to help them cross over. It and it's in such what I have heard from so many is it's so welcoming, and they're no longer afraid, and they don't scream and cry. It's a reassuring way to go. I know a number of hospice nurses, and they encounter it daily. Just daily. People, in fact, they say they know when they're going to go within 24 hours. And that's normally because their eyes will vert upward, their hand will reach out, even if they're in a state of non-response. And to her, I mean, to me, that's reassuring. That I hope I have a bunch of people coming to get me when my time's up, to help me. So I do go the right direction, because I'm terrible on directions, and knowing me, I'll turn right when I'm supposed to turn left, and
All I need is for you to leave me a trail of wine. I'll find my way.
I mean, let's face it, if there's a computer involved, I am sunk. We found out earlier.
No joke, lady. I adore you, but that is no joke.
I will not be able to do it. So
next time you speak to a spirit, just like, hey, the technology is the same as it ever was, right? Like we're not advancing technology on that side, because just don't. So at one point in time, did you? Okay, so let me ask it a different way. As I've watched Matt Frazier and Teresa Caputo and Tyler Henry, they start connecting, they start sensing, they start feeling, they start communicating what they're feeling, what they're experiencing during a reading. And I know a lot of people believe, oh, you just see everything and you report it as you see it, and it's got to be 100% correct, or you're a fake, you're a phony, and you're make believe. And so it took me a while, right? Because I had seen all the, I didn't appreciate Teresa Caputo when she first came out, because she was like every other one out there. She was very scripted, very formatted. It was like Hollywood, her producers or whoever had control of how she could use her gift. And then once Matt Frazier came out, and all medium hell broke loose, so to speak, because he's on YouTube and he's like, okay, we're going to do this, that, and the other. And he's actually, I really enjoyed it when I got to talk with him, because I paid for one of his shows. It was virtual, and I was called last minute, and I wasn't even there for me. I bought the tickets for my friends, and he'd always made it clear in his shows that, hey, just because you bought the ticket, spirits don't know who's paying. So just if there's somebody in your room and a spirit wants to talk to that person, I'm going to find them. And sure enough, and he couldn't see the people on the screen that was with me. We were on a computer very similar to what I'm on today, and they were sitting a little too far apart from me. And he's like, hey, Tara, do you know somebody with, it's got a diet, a drug, there's drugs. And he starts going into it. I'm like, I mean, I do, but that's really for these two people. And they were just like, how did you know? And he's like, I told you, they don't care who pays for the ticket. And and then Caputo came differently, and then Tyler Henry, and they all do the same thing. They say, I'm seeing this, I'm feeling this. Does this make sense to you? And
Because
so
it's not black and white. It doesn't come to us. I always give the example of, if I have a spirit and I start to taste peanut butter, I have to differentiate whether it's they loved peanut butter, they hated peanut butter, they were a diabetic, or they, peanut butter was their middle name, I guess. I don't know. I have to try to figure out what they're telling me, what that means as far as peanut butter. It's just like if I see the number 2, I've got to talk to the spirit, because that could be 2 kids, that could be 2 years old, that could be, twins, or it could be an anniversary of the second of the month, or the second month of the year. I mean, there's a lot to it. It's not as black and white, which is why I'm always afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing, because it's not as clear as everybody wants it to be. So then we have to kind of ask more questions to the spirit and hope that they'll give us more details. And then we try to tell the person to try to figure out what exactly they're trying to tell us. So we figure out which person it is. The older I get, the harder it is for me to decipher an older person because I'm older. I can decipher someone in their 80s and 90s. But because I'm in my 60s, an older person to me is me. So I struggle if I see somebody, that I'm thinking they're 60, but they could be 50 and just looking older than they are, or Lord forbid if they're 85 and they look really good. So I have to try to look at the clothing, or have them show me the cars that they used to be with, because there's certain cars in certain eras, just so I can figure out if it's grandma or mom or aunt, because it'll normally come in male or female, child, teenager, but then the rest of it's kind of a mush to me anymore, because like I said, I'm older. It was easier back in the day when I wasn't old. So
oh my god. So I could, what questions do you guys have, or what's in the chat? I could keep going. I feel like I'm hogging the conversation.
I actually have a question. So you've talked a couple of times about these fundraisers. What's the details of that? Like, you go to a museum, you invite people to watch you talk to the spirits. Like, what is this?
Well,
this sounds. I want to come to one of these. So I
prime example, we have we go to the Wichita Orpheum, and we just the Orpheum and I decide on a date, because, and then my team goes in as a pre-investigation. So we go through the entire place. We've been in there a ton of times, so we kind of know what we call the hot spots. And we kind of get to know the spirits all over again, to let them know that we're here. We're not going to cause them any trouble, but we would like for more money to be made in the museum. So we'd like to have a fundraiser to have public people in. So we would like for them to hit the K2s to converse with the public. And then after we do that, we set a date, and then it's up to the museum or the theater or wherever to sell tickets. Now, because I have so much equipment, I can have 30 people in a session, which we normally divide in 10 people because we want smaller groups. And then they pay the museum. We never will touch the money. We won't sell a ticket.
Yeah.
We don't. In fact, I have to keep with the museum on finding out how many tickets have been sold, so I know how many of my team I need to do the fundraiser. And then we show up the night of the fundraiser, we separate them into groups, and we give them, everybody gets a K2, which is an electronic device that will, if energy gets near it, it'll change colors. Everyone gets one of those and a flashlight to use. And then we go around, take them around to what we consider the hot spots, with our other equipment, our big expensive equipment, and we let them see if they can get anything on their machines. Plus we're using our others, the voice boxes, the SLS cameras, things like that, so they can possibly see the spirits on the cameras and listen to them and hopefully hear them talk on the voice box. And then once it's all done, we pack up, we go, everybody goes, and whatever money the museum makes or the theater makes, it's theirs.
And I can
That's really
confirm that.
cool.
I can confirm the money transactions. I was talking when I did the interview with her for our local museum. They were showing me their ticket process. They were so proud because they went all digital, and they were a little scared of it at the same time because they're like, we think this will work.
And I couldn't help them because I didn't know.
No, they were showing me, they're like, see, you can buy your tickets this way. I'm like, yeah, I'll just give you cash. I'm not sure how that's going to work. And so that's the great thing about it. Truly was 100% fundraiser. The local museum made all the profits off of that one. And then, so it was very, very cool that they do that kind of thing. And I wish I could have been there for that one because this is in my hometown. I'm doing the blog on that particular one. So I'm going to have to sit down with you and gain some insight from you as to what you guys experienced. I'll pay you myself privately and you guys can take me through that because I want to do
I'm
a blog
coming
on
with.
that one.
I'm coming
It
with.
was so awesome.
We're
It
going
was
to do a
just,
private party with the SheNanigans crew.
and what's funny is we separate in 3 different groups. If you're talking about the Derby Historical, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay. We separated in 3 different groups. And what's funny is my daughter had a group, I had a group, and then a couple of my other investigators had the other group. And we took them around, and what a flashlight would go off on a room for me, but it would not go off on a room for the same room. It would not go off for my daughter or vice versa. So we never know what we're going to get. We hope that we get things, but I always tell people, I can't make them perform. I can't make them do
It's not a
things.
circus. You can't
I
train
tell them
them.
they're not monkeys. They're not trained monkeys. I can't make them perform. So, we get excited if we actually get, the same thing.
Yeah.
And we'll tell each other, hey, put that flashlight over on that bookcase and see if you get it. The same thing. And ask if such and such is here. And sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. People always like to do the last investigation of the night. I always tell them, if it's a Friday and Saturday, try not to do the last Saturday, because the spirits go by our energy. And I get tired at night. And these
Tell me the spirits are the
investigations,
most active on a Saturday night when there's paying customers. Just tell me
yeah,
that.
they don't care. Yeah, no, they don't care.
Right.
So they're banking on my energy, my team's energy. And after the second night, later in the night, we're tired. So, we normally get more earlier in the evening. People always talk to me about the 3 o'clock in the morning witching hour, which I laugh because I get more in the daytime than I do at 3 in the morning because I'm tired at 3 a.m. So I don't get as much at 3 a.m. It seems like I get my second wind about midnight. So from midnight to 2, We get a lot more stuff when we're doing investigations just privately. But 3 o'clock, I'm tired. My team's tired. We have nothing left in our tank to give the spirits.
Oh my
Have you been
goodness.
to the Museum of World Treasures?
Yes. In
Yeah.
fact, we did a fundraiser for them
Okay.
about 3 years
I feel
ago.
like that's got to be a really active place. I just don't. It just feels like it to me.
It was crazy. It was one of their Halloween fundraisers that they did, and we did the same thing. We separated and did our thing with the people. And what was I can say this because I have permission. One of the founder guys, he's got a setup in there with his picture and things like that. Unbeknownst to me, his daughter was actually in one of the groups. And she so badly, he had just passed away,
Oh,
and she had, it was a new exhibit, and she so badly wanted to talk to her dad, and she was not in my group. So at the end of it, they came up to me and they explained, and I saw that it was extremely necessary. So we went back up to his area, and they had a special song, and she started singing it, and on the recorder you could hear the gentleman singing with her.
Oh,
um
I love that.
and then the flashlight was going on and off, and it was very touching.
yeah.
It was what she needed. So sometimes we do it for good, which I try to always do it for good, but there's just certain circumstances that comes up, and I'm like, okay, let's go, you know. But the world treasures, yeah, those mummies, oh,
Oh, I was going to ask you about those mummies. That's
those
when you said world
mummies in
treasures. I'm
there.
like,
We had
I
the K2s going off, the flashlight
I
going
want to
on and
hear
off.
them little bastards talk. That's what I want to hear. I need to hear some secrets.
Well,
Be like,
um,
careful what you wish for.
the plant that was right outside fell over. It was just wild, you
Oh
know.
wow.
It just kind of flopped over when we left, and I made the comment we weren't gonna go back in, and all of a sudden the plant just falls over, and I'm like,
Yes, you are.
"I
You're
guess
coming
we
around.
are. I guess we're going back in." But I mean that the it's just got so much, just so very much, so much history, um, and residual stuff. I mean, stuff that people touched and their energy's still in it. So it's really cool. I mean, we've been to a lot of places around, a lot of the museums. We've already got another one scheduled for April. So, but not there.
Wow. Not there. So as you can see, our panel's been dropping off because that's what they do. Instead of the ladies saying anything, they just drop off, and they've you kind of have to go do their adult thing. Um, but we're coming up on. We try to keep it to about 90 minutes. We're coming up on that point. I just wanted to have one more question before we close it out. And I know I sent you a text a couple weeks ago, and I probably just shocked the dickens out of you when I sent it because there was no response. I'm like, I'm just going to leave it alone because that's probably shocking. Is there children themselves, babies, dogs, cats, they can all sense it probably because they're more open. They've not been exposed the same way. The exposure changes, and they're taught, or they put up boundaries that they don't know they're putting up. Are there things that can happen to us, whether we feel a presence, like Katie said, or maybe there's something specific, that there's a specific experience that is going to be unique to each of us, that can kind of lean into that idea that somebody's trying to communicate, but because we don't know how to maybe hear correctly, we
Or
can't.
interpret it right.
So, and I'm asking for, I will give my own experience if the question makes sense.
Um, well, what exactly I mean, children are, I mean, are you trying to say, how do I know if the person's really there?
Yeah, if because everybody's going to be different. There's been a time or two, rarely, that I'll feel a presence, once in a while. And then, but what really, there's something more specific that happens to me that I've recognized throughout the years. And that's that thing that I text you that I will hear a song in a specific part of my head.
Mhm.
And it's very specific. And it's
Mhm.
different from where most of my thoughts, my thinking, so I have an inner monologue. It turns out not everybody does. I worry about some people, but not everybody has that inner monologue. I have an inner monologue and an inner visual system. So I can visualize things and I can
Mine
hear
doesn't
myself
shut
think,
up.
okay, mine will shut up for different reasons. But I realized a couple years ago, and there's a big long story to this that I'll get into on another Shenanigans. I had learned of a friend of mine that had passed by his own hand. And I realized there was this song that kept circling in my head and I couldn't figure it out. And the weirdest thing about this, Terry, was that it was in the back of my head. It was not in the top where all the other stuff that happens up top, right? But this kept coming from and I could specifically tell it was coming from the back of my head. I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. Like I don't recognize that. And I finally correlated the song to, okay, maybe this has something to do with that person. And then I thought, well, and I talked to a couple people and I talked to my friend, and I won't tell anybody what the song was. I'm waiting for I have it written down on a piece of paper in a sealed envelope to convince my friend because it's her brother that it's about. And it's somebody that is very near and dear to my heart. And so that's what I'm curious about. Like for me, it's like, because I texted you a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I keep hearing this damn song. It is in the back of my damn head, and I can't figure out how to understand. Because to me, it's like almost like that's how somebody's trying to get my attention.
It is. He
That
wants you, he is afraid that more than likely, I'm going to say it like this, more than likely, he is afraid that you have forgotten him. That
you say
that
that
maybe you are, or maybe you have felt the way he felt. I mean, everybody has down days.
so it's
Um,
just you
you,
saying that much right there. Again, I
um,
won't tell anybody the song that aligns with the song so damn well. That's
I
what's
mean,
kind of interesting.
if you have a prime example, okay, we went to a house and it was a young kids, teenagers, and this guy was so upset. And this is not you. I'm not saying that you're at this state, but the guy was so upset and he kept being bothered, and the kid would not talk to me. The spirit would not talk to me. Talk to my daughter. Come to find out, it was his best friend that had committed suicide during right at graduation, and they had these big plans, and he was trying to make him remember him. And we were like, why is it so important? Well, come to find out, I looked at the guy and I said, he wants you to know it's not the way out.
Oh, wow.
That he says, no, that if you ever cared about their friendship, even a little bit, don't.
Yeah.
And the kid absolutely collapsed on the couch, went into a fetal position, and looked at his girlfriend and said, please go in my room underneath, it was in a laundry basket, and get my gun out.
Oh, wow.
He was going to kill himself, just like his friend did. They will come to warn you to not, but they will also come when you're feeling down to remind you that it's better on this side than on that side, no matter what. So it's kind of to cheer you up.
So it's
But they also will do it because they think that you have forgotten them. They want to be remembered. They want to be talked about. They want to be. So I would suggest you tell your friend that you've been hearing that, because maybe she needs to know. Maybe the sister needs to hear that you've been hearing that song,
she
and that
knows.
you've been, you've been thinking about him, and maybe you guys need to go celebrate his life and not his death. You know what
So
I mean?
that's funny because we kind of done that. We've had the talk about him, and that the song showed up after she and I connected, and and it was like that thing of, okay, now you know, because I didn't know he was gone. Nobody called and told me, and it
Yeah.
was a very unique relationship. But so, and I wasn't doing that for my comfort, but it's those little things that happen repetitively, maybe in our lives, that while we may not be um, as clear to the interpretation as what you are, that avenue for us, that road between here and there may not be as clearly paved as it is for you. That some people maybe are going through a forest and they have to pay attention to the same tree or the same flower that keeps showing up over and over
Yes.
again. There's something. So is it safe to say that for the most part, um, if that's something people are experiencing, they need to probably stop and reflect on, maybe there's something to that if it keeps happening repeated. And if for me it's different, and I reached out to you because I've experienced a couple of different songs. I'm like, who are you? What do you want? What do you need from me? Figure it out and find another path to touch me, because I don't understand what the hell that song means, because I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift. And
Yeah.
I don't know who is. I need to find out who loves Taylor Swift, and because I need them to stop. But so
I mean,
that's
but that's how they reach out. They're reaching
yes,
out to you by song.
yes.
Some reach out by smells,
Yeah, I've heard,
um,
yes, yes,
things
yes.
of that nature. I mean, and I mean, we all remember the talcum powder back in the day of the older people. That's what they used for, to freshen themselves up.
Everything, yes.
Yeah, for everything. And a lot of times you'll smell that, or you'll smell the main smells of just that overwhelming flowery smell. That's normally an older woman coming in. And I always tell people about dreams because they always ask me about dreams. And I'm like, if you are dreaming about your loved one and you're doing something that you always did, like if you went shopping with your mom every weekend and you're dreaming and she's there, that's a dream. That's a memory. That's not her. But if per se, like in my situation, I'm terrified of heights. So I tell my children when I am gone, when I come to them in a dream, I will be on a chair or a table or on a mountain or someplace that you will not get this woman ever on at all. And then they will know that it's really me.
Yeah.
And when I stroke their face, to actually know it's me, and it's okay to smile and not be sad, that I'm just coming to say hello, and for them to remember that I'm still here. I haven't went anywhere per se, that I can float in and out as often as you want. But not always when they think, I mean, people think they need to see spirit more than they really do. Um, I mean, they're going to come when you need them the most, but not necessarily when you think you need them.
Right.
Um, doesn't necessarily work like that.
That's awesome. Well, you've answered actually more questions than I was going to ask, and some I wanted
Sorry.
to ask, but I thought, no, no, it's good. It's very, very good. The conversation has been absolutely fascinating. There was questions I wanted to ask, but you answered before I even had a chance to. The only thing I can ask is if you will, and it won't make it a Halloween special. We'll do it differently, but maybe we bring you back on another time. Because after shows like this, we tend to get some feedback and some questions that people don't want to ask out in the open, and we'll have people viewing this after the fact, because this will go on YouTube and stay there. And so we may ask you to come back as a guest again. And there's another medium, I'd like to see you guys converse and compare and talk openly with the Shenanigans crew to see what those conversations look like. So I think that would be so cool to have more than one of you guys up here to understand how the variances between the gifts. I think that would be a really
Right.
neat thing to see. Not a comparison, not who's better, but just to understand they're different. I have different gifts than Amber does, just as you do. And so I hope that you will accept that invite when I present it to you later on. I don't know when it'll be because I'm working on that other one right now. But I think she probably knew that was coming. I don't know. We'll find out. But she seemed to be open to the idea. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
great.
It's not like I have no ill will on any other medium. That's not the way we work.
Good.
And if they do, I'm sorry. Did I offend you? I don't know how I offended you. But to me, I mean, it's a learning process. Even today, I'm hoping I will learn more so I can help somebody else tomorrow. You
Good.
know,
That's awesome.
because it's not cut in stone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll know one day, but maybe I'll come back and haunt you guys and let you.
I'll take it. Hopefully in the living, but I'll take either one, which reminds me, I need your team to come investigate my house. And because I'm pretty sure the couple that used to live here who happen to be my in-laws to be are probably here. But at any rate, we will
Oh,
have
you're
that
gonna have to
fun.
share that with me over a glass of wine.
Oh, I will. You kind of
Yes,
already
we will
know.
anytime. You just let us know.
Great.
Day or
Awesome.
night. It doesn't even have to be nighttime, but you do have to be there. That's
Yes.
always our people say, well, I don't that is just one of our biggest rules is if we go into and investigate a private residence or even a museum, whatever, we have to have someone there for liability.
Works
I
for me.
won't go in just with my team ever. And it also helps because the spirits don't know us, but they normally know you.
Oh, these two do. Trust me.
So,
I
I
will
mean,
tell that story.
they're going to talk to us better if we know it's okay for
Mhm.
you.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you, Terri, so much for coming up tonight and bearing your soul to everybody.
Well, sorry it took so long.
No, we're good. We're
And
totally good.
I don't know how to fix the whole computer thing, but I guess we'll do it by phone from now on.
We will. It's great. It worked out perfect. The chat loved it, so I'm excited to get the feedback. Thank you so
Good,
much.
good, good.
I'm glad the Shenanigans crew was here and everybody in the chat. Thank you guys. You guys are always so awesome and very open. Even if you disagree or agree, the chat is always super awesome about engaging with one another, engaging with our guests and the Shenanigans crew. So thank you guys all for being here. You can see that my cat Orion showed up late to the party, but
Well, I was
whatever.
pretty late.
No, you were fine. He's way late. We're closing out now. He wants to play. So
Well,
all right,
next
you guys.
time. Next time.
Exactly.
Well,
You
thank
guys,
you for having me. I do appreciate it. And like I said, I will say I am nothing without my team. My
that's
team
awesome.
is my backbone. I I can't do it without my team. So I want to shout out to them because there's not a day that goes by that I don't appreciate them. So
That's awesome. I hope to get to meet them
Love
sometime too.
that.
They sound awesome. They sound great.
they're good guys and gals.
And hey,
All
send
right.
us the link to the next fundraiser because we will join you.
Well, it's in
Yes.
April 4th, Coots
Perfect.
Art Museum.
Perfect.
So I
Perfect.
don't know when they're going to sell the. No. April 4th is Augusta Historical Museum. I am to be corrected.
I will get that link and I'll put it up there on the Shenanigans Facebook page. Terri is on that page. She joined us today, which I'm kind of excited about. And so we can have more conversations on that side. But until next Tuesday, you guys have a great night. Thank you for being here. We'll see you
Thanks.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.